How you doing? Happy New Year.
Hello. If we could stand up for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Good morning, everyone. Okay. So the first item on the agenda is going to be the Commissioner's report on financials with Dave.
This was just a cash transfer that had to be done yesterday in order for payroll process for the Common Pleas Pre-Sentence Investigation Fund for state grant funding not yet received.
Okay.
Okay, so that's all it was.
So that's all.
That's all it was. FYI.
Okay. All right. And so we don't need to do a motion on that.
Nope.
The second item is the office is requesting the board approve and execute the minutes for the meeting of December 30th, 2014. We have a motion for that.
Second.
Commissioner Claypool?
Aye. You gotta abstain.
You abstain.
Oh, I abstained.
30.
Which one was this? Oh,
30.
Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah. Last one you have to abstain from.
Commissioner Beer?
Aye.
Commissioner Spiller?
Aye, motion approved. And then we've got Heidi this morning with financials.
Just in time financials.
Today we have a revenue certification for the Water Resources Thompson Wastewater Treatment Plant Project Fund, supplemental appropriations for the Common Pleas Court Smart Ohio Grant Fund to appropriate the carryover funds, cash transfer out of the general fund for a portion of 2015 funding for the county home, and then carryover vouchers that are being paid.
Okay, so with that, we have a motion on the financials.
Move to approve?
Second.
Commissioner Claypool?
Yes. Aye.
Commissioner Beer?
Aye.
Commissioner Spiller?
Aye, motion approved. Thanks, Heidi. Okay, number 4.
Number
the
4,
auditor's office.
I can explain that.
Okay.
This is a document that the county signs with the auditor of state, for the auditor of state to help in preparation of the CAFR, the Combined Annual Financial Report, to put together. I spoke to the auditor and suggested if he thought he should be here for any explanation, but he was comfortable with it. It's similar to the documents that are signed in prior years, so it's
Okay.
it's for a 3-year period, not to exceed 33.5 per year.
Okay.
What was it, 53.5, is it 3,000?
No,
$33,500 per year. It's many, many hours of labor to help produce that
To
document.
produce the CAFR report.
Yeah.
And it's a state auditor that's doing that.
The state auditor is doing it on our behalf.
This is where they're set up in the basement up there, right?
Well, no, that's the audit.
That's the full
That's
audit.
the actual audit.
Okay.
This is creating this very complex and lengthy detailed annual report of county activities. And especially to be able to create that report is done more efficiently by somebody who does it all the time for any reason.
The
So-
staff assists them.
Yeah, but I mean, just for the record and for so people who are watching this, the state auditor hires people and pays them a salary to come in here and have us pay him $33,000 a year to pay the people that he already pays $80,000 and $90,000 a year to do their job. So, you know, I'm gonna approve this, but I have huge questions about that.
But is it actually Dave Yost? It would be.
It's his employees.
It's his employees. Yeah.
It's state employees, so he staffs at a level assuming he's gonna be, and this is a comment, I'm not commenting on the appropriateness, I'm just saying this is a very widespread practice.
Yeah, I don't really understand. We hire people at the state level to do their job, and we pay them a salary, and then they come in here to do their job, and we gotta pay a fee for somebody that we're already paying to do a job? I don't understand.
Well, that is, by law, that's not really his job to do our financials, it's the county's job to do the county's financials.
I would
You know,
disagree.
townships have much simpler financial statements, and it's usually done by township employees.
I may be speaking out of ignorance here, which I seldom do, but I think that's the state auditor's job, to do a CAFR report. A CAFR report is an official audited report by the state auditor, and that's his job. That's what he's hired to do, that's what he's elected to do, and we hire people to do that, so, you know, we don't need to get off into the weeds on this, but there's questions that I have, there's questions that I have on this, and you don't have to do your work on it, I'll do some more work on this, but I just don't understand why we pay people to do things, and then we gotta double dip and pay them again to do things. I don't understand that. So.
You know, I brought this question up, like Skip is asking with Tracy and Frank Leah when we had the first audit, when I was here my first year. And I agree with Skip on that. It's hard to swallow, but it's one of those deals where the answer that I got from the state is that these people wouldn't exist if we didn't have them on board to do this stuff. You know, as far as all of the, I brought it up with the audit, because I'm like, okay, these are state paid employees, why are we paying almost $100,000 for an audit to be done?
Audit.
When these aren't even our employees, the state pays for those employees, so why are we paying this bill, and you're mandating us to have this audit?
Well,
And he, you know, the answer I got from the state was, because I called down I didn't talk to the auditor of the state himself, but I talked to his staff, and he basically said that we wouldn't have those people on board if they weren't, we have them there as approved individuals that have the experience and knowledge to do this, that we have as officiated them within the state, but we would have no need to keep these people or have these people here. So what we do is we approve them, we hire them, we train them, we do this and this and this, and then we send them to the different counties to do that. But they're doing a service for us. And my whole question was, I said, I guarantee you that you don't pay these people $100,000 for the amount of time that they're here, so they leave here and go someplace else. So when you add it up at the end, we still are getting the short end of the stick, but it's kind of like, it's hard, you know, it's hard with the state because they
make the rules.
Yeah.
You could have the audit done by an outside firm.
Right.
And then you pay them instead of the state.
You're gonna
Some
pay
do.
somebody.
Yeah.
Somebody's gonna get paid.
Somebody's gonna be
Some
paid.
people don't.
And
We can hire our own people.
What we're
but we have to
talking
pay.
about-
Yep.
We don't have enough people to,
Right.
you know, this is a job
Oh, yeah.
task all by itself.
Well, this-
And whether we pay our people, we pay people and hire them, or whether we do it with an outside firm, or whether we do it with the state, the bottom line is we're gonna pay.
This particular contract is to prepare that CAFR. Now, you know, the auditor, our auditor's office is staffed to do the county's regular routine business year and round. This is a whole separate task
Yeah, and this
that
is,
has to be handled.
this
on
is
top of
different
that.
because it's an independent audit. You can't have the auditor auditing himself.
No.
And so you have an outside auditor, I mean, I work for Ernst & Young, happen to be an auditing company, so I know a little bit about this. And so, you know, you hire outside companies to come in and do an audit so that you can have an independent view of what's going on. And I'm okay with that. I still have to get my head around the whole concept of the fact that we as taxpayers are paying for expertise. We pay them a salary, that's their job. And so if they're gonna employ their expertise, come to our county to do their job, we've already paid them. I don't know why we're double paying them. So this concept that we're gonna pay somebody, we already paid it. We're giving them a $100,000 a year salary. That's their payment. So I don't know why we gotta pay Dave Yost's office when his office is being subsidized, or not subsidized, but is put in place by taxpayer dollars. His salary is paid for by taxpayer dollars. His office is paid for by taxpayer dollars. We hire these employees by taxpayer dollars. For us to pay again, I don't understand that concept. And maybe it's just me. I mean, maybe it's being stupid, there's no justification for it.
Well, what you're doing is you're basing your assumption on the fact that these people that we're paying with our taxpayer dollars are already working for the auditor and being paid by his taxpayer dollars, and that they're not being brought on and it's just a fee to whoever participates in that plan. There are, and my mind is blank right now, but there are other things that we pay to the state because there's no provision. If it goes over something, we have to pay for this or we have to pay for that. That's the way I view this thing. Is it's a cost to us that if we choose not to do it, I don't think the auditor has people sitting around there that he's paying out on his payroll on a if-come basis with us. He employs people to do a job as he gets the contracts. I mean, these guys all, I'm not sure that they're full-time state employees is what I'm saying. He may contract with another auditing firm. He may contract with Ernst & Young for all I know, or somebody to come in with a handful of auditors to do this task. And he's not gonna pay somebody and then we're gonna do it ourselves. He's gonna wait until we tell him, yeah, we want you to do it, or we're gonna have an outside firm do it. That's my impression. I could be wrong.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, and again, I'm speaking out of ignorance to some degree.
Well,
so
I don't-
You can educate me, and
Good
we'll.
question to ask.
Yeah, I don't know that that's a ignorance. I just thought that,
It's a logical question to ask coming in new. Yeah.
my thought is that if it was a bogus, I put faith in the people that were before me. I mean, Ralph asked the question 2 years ago. He got an answer. I don't know whether it was a good answer, but he got an answer.
Well, at least I'm not the only one asking the question.
No,
I don't feel quite as stupid.
It's not a stupid question, it's a good question.
And to be quite honest with you, the people that were, I didn't talk to these people, Skip, but I talked to the people who were doing the audit, and they looked at each other like, we understand exactly what you're saying, and we don't understand it either, but this is, and everybody just laughs and jokes, and, you can sign the check and move on, it's.
Well, I think probably the auditor state's budget is predicated on having some funding directly from the state, but it's also predicated on receipts of contract money from all these political subdivisions they do this work for, and they need that in order to cover their payroll.
Well, it's a fee. I don't know. We get a lot of
It's
fees.
another
It's
tax.
in our tax.
Anytime we pay a fee,
You gotta read
it's
it.
just another name for a
Yeah,
tax.
so if we can go ahead and read.
The auditor's
Thank you,
office
Heidi.
is requesting the board approve and execute a letter of understanding with the auditor of the state of Ohio for services to be provided by the local government services section of the Office of the Auditor of State, LGS, to Geauga County for basic financial statements and the comprehensive annual financial report, CAFR, for the years ending December 31st, 2014, December 31st, 2015, and December 31st, 2016, in an amount not to exceed $33,500 per year.
So move. Second?
Commissioner Claypool?
Aye.
Commissioner Rea?
Aye.
Commissioner Spudler?
Aye, motion is approved. Okay, so number 5, do you wanna talk about this, Dave? or-
We just, I mean, at least for the time I've been here, the board has agreed to just follow whatever the current IRS reimbursement rate is for mileage, and that's usually tied to fuel prices, so this number may go down at some point, but as of now, it's at 57.5 cents per mile. And you can change that, you can make it actually, I don't know if anyone would make it above that, some choose to make it below that. And you can continue to follow the IRS, or you could do something else later on at any time of the year. So this doesn't commit you, it preclude you from taking action later on if you want to change your mind.
How often do they come out with that number? Twice a year, or, I mean, I saw it once before since I've sat here in the last year.
Yeah.
At least once before, maybe twice, I'm not sure.
It may be quarterly, it might even be monthly, but we generally only look at it once a year unless there's a major fluctuation. You know, like if the IRS comes out in June and drops it to 48 cents a mile, if these gas prices stick.
Right, I'm sure there's a lag time between the time that they start working on this and, you know,
Right.
because it didn't go up it didn't go up quickly
When
when gasoline was
$4 a
going
gallon,
up to
yes.
$4 a gallon. It didn't go
It lags,
Okay,
it lags, it definitely.
I'm pretty sure it's annually. They update it annually.
once a year.
And to be honest with you, we don't have a huge encumbrance on.
Yeah, I mean, overall, the county doesn't spend a whole lot of money on mileage reimbursement.
I mean, and this is a fair thing to do. The only, some companies choose to make it less than this, and then people can, because the federal government allows you to do the 57.5, then they put that on their own personal tax. You can file that.
Work related, well, but there's a floor below which you can't claim it.
Yeah, if your income doesn't rise to the level,
AGI,
if you don't
2%
have
of
enough,
AGI or something like that.
if you don't have enough depreciation or whatever, but,
Right.
or not depreciation, but
Some-
deductions, but.
Sometimes I think though that we really need to look at that. I know that, I think that we may need to really take a look at the mileage, because I know that, like with the auditor's office, we pay a lot into the auditors. We pay a lot into juvenile court. I think there might be a situation where maybe we do look at having a possibility of getting some of those people a car. You know, if that supersedes what dollars we're spending in mileage, I think that sometimes, that might not be a bad idea to to actually look into
As
that.
long as it's utilized, I mean, just so for
Yeah.
your benefits, and so.
Hey, you just raised a question with me within the last month. Who uses that car? We ought to get rid of it.
Right, I agree with
Well,
you.
we
That's
have-
what you said to me, right? I mean, I'm not putting words in
No,
your
no,
mouth.
the car that we have.
Yeah, the one that we
You know,
have
we
there.
could give that to the auditor's office and say, here, from this point on, use this, and then it
Well-
doesn't cost us anything if, especially with gas at $2 a gallon, your mileage is going to, let's say we're getting, you know, $20 a mileage, no, we just went down to 10 cents, and maintenance is not going to be another, you know, 47 cents.
A lot of it's tied to
Yeah, but
depreciation.
we gotta talk about
You know,
insurance,
that's a
signing
real
up
good
money
idea
up.
in terms of a pool car.
Right.
Because you can have pool cars that people could draw.
Well, and
from.
that's the one, all right, let me explain the one you have. It was a 2004 Buick LeSabre that was bought, 2004. It's probably got 70,000 miles on it over 10 years. And the way it works is, it functions like a pool car. Generally, the only one outside of your hiring authority uses is, I know the clerk of courts uses it. Whenever someone takes that office, even our office, is charged this, whatever the current mileage rate, and that goes into a fund designed to eventually replace that car when it needs to be replaced. So there's a balance sitting in that fund of, I don't know, around $18,000. Because also coming out of that, whenever it needs tires or maintenance, that account is charged for that.
Well, the problem I see right now is how many cars do we buy? Because we don't have one agency. We don't have the auditor going somewhere and the juvenile court not going anywhere that day, or the commissioner's not going anywhere that day, or anybody else. I mean, this, excuse me,
You know, in some areas, in the business world, we charge $5 every time a phone rings. And we throw that into our line. You know what I'm saying? Pay for coffee?
I'll settle this.
I was checking my phone, make sure it was.
I get family members, now mine's on vibrate, family members that call me, it's like, I've been doing this for 10 years now, don't you know, I'm kinda tied up right now, but no, they don't know that.
I was running a consulting session one time, we had about 200 people in the session. And the rule was, if you brought your cell phone in and it rang, you put $10 into the hat. At the end of the session was over with, then we had a little game that we played, and the winner got to win the pot.
Yeah.
And so, it was funny, because it was about $500 in that pot. Anybody kidding me?
We'll route this one.
That's how many cell phones rang, so.
Yeah.
This was the information that I received from the email and the information regarding the IRS rate that
Oh.
came from Ron,
Okay.
addressed to myself and Heidi. This
Yeah.
is, as far as I know that I've been here, it's only been done annually.
Yeah, it generally is done anyway. I mean, I think there's a possibility if it went way up or way down, the IRS would change it, and then the board might want to adjust it.
You know, I mean, and it's easy to pull that number to really see if we can do that and look at a pool of cars to say, you know, I just signed 3 titles for Heidi this morning, or Debbie this morning.
Cars being sold on GovDeal.
You know,
Yeah.
and then, you know, we don't have to have employees beating up their cars, and it's, you know, I think that the other thing too is that we're entrusting that their vehicles are in good shape, good working order. All of a sudden they get into an accident or something and it falls back, that, you know what I mean, it's just.
Well, they have to, the employees have to provide us with proof of insurance. If part of their job
Okay.
involves sometimes driving for the county. So they have to demonstrate they're insured.
Excuse me, folks, but I have to leave. I have a family member in an ambulance right now. so.
Sorry.
No, that's all right. I don't know what it's about. I just know that I got 2 different calls.
Can you put everything important on the agenda right now? Just playing. No, I tend to agree with Ralph, that it's worth at least asking the question.
Yeah.
Just reviewing it and
Sure.
see if it makes sense. And sure. So, I don't know what the process might be, but, you know, might be worth considering, so.
Okay. So you want to table this right now, or you want to adopt it for now, knowing you can change it?
No, for the mileage? Yeah,
Yeah.
well, it's something to look into. I mean, we're not gonna delay this for, you know, in Houston, we gotta comply with the number as, I mean, to a point of just matching what the IRS is saying,
Yep.
but, it's something to really look into, I think. So if we could do a read on that.
The Commissioner's Office is requesting the Board establish the gas mileage reimbursement at the current Internal Revenue Services IRS rate of .575 to be effective January 1st, 2015 for the departments under the direction of the Geauga County Board of Commissioners.
Move to approve.
Second.
Commissioner Claypool?
Aye.
Commissioner Spudler?
Motion approved. Okay, number 6 is, the Commissioner's Office is requesting the Board approve the promotion of Debbie Ashburn to the position of Budget Officer number 1308 to be effective on January the 5th, 2015 at a rate of $14.78 per hour after the successful completion of a 180-day probation period. The rate will increase to $15.56 per hour. Did you want to add anything onto that, Dave?
That, we did the internal posting and we extended it at your request. And we only received her application apparently. It was posted, and it's not unusual that we get a number of internal applicants. In the case of someone, she's currently at a grade 6, this because the budget officer is a grade 8. Typically, our process is if we believe there's an internal candidate or candidates that meet the requirements very well, we won't go to the expense of going to the outside. But that's something you guys down the line could, on subsequent hires, if you decide it would be better to advertise everything to the outside, we can certainly do that.
Well, and that came up because I was wondering what the procedure and the policy and standard was for internal hires. And
This
so-
followed our
And
existing
it might be
policy.
something we have more conversation on. You know, we did let it internally, but that then doesn't mean that we've let it out to the public and given the best, person the opportunity. Not that Debbie's not a great person, that's not what I'm trying to say, but we want to make sure that there's no appearance that we're only picking from within the family and not
Yeah,
giving everybody an
no,
opportunity.
and I agree with that, and that's one of the reasons why it was like on a 5-day deal, and I
Right.
actually in December extended it another,
I think we went
30 days if I
Well, or
remember.
20 days at least. I think it was 20 days.
Because I didn't want to come across with that kind of a,
Sure.
of a, position either of saying, well, we've got somebody picked and try to kind of rush it through during the holiday season especially, and all of a sudden we're just picking somebody. Because I felt the same way as I love Debbie dearly. She just does a great job, very dedicated person, but I just say, at the end of the day, if your house is burning, who do you want, to carry you out? The smartest fireman or the strongest fireman. So it's, it's just who's best for the job. And
In the case of Debbie, she has a bachelor's degree in English, and she's run several small businesses with her husband. So she's got the college education, and she's got the financial background, hands-on doing her own business. So I think she's very well qualified.
Well, and let me use that as an opportunity to make a point. She may be the best, absolutely the best candidate, and I think she is. She's a great person. I'll go with Ralph on that, knowing what she does in the office and all that kind of stuff. But it's all about appearances, and we want to make sure that the public understands that from an appearance standpoint, we're above board.
Right.
And so, if in fact she's the strongest and the best candidate, that'll all come out in the wash, and she'll get the job anyway.
Right.
But it's about making sure that we're transparent, that the public understands, that there's no internal shenanigans going on.
Right.
We consider people for a particular position, it is because they are the best candidate.
Right.
And if we're hiring, and she's got an edge, she works for us already, she already understands the internals and so forth. Okay, that's just the reality of the hiring situation, it's not completely fair, but it's as fair as we can make it.
Right.
And make sure that we're, fair and transparent above board at all times. That way, there's no opportunity for the public to come back and say, well, Cronin was
It's a done deal.
That's
Right, right.
So
Absolutely.
anyway,
Yeah.
with that said,
so then
you wanna
if we
read that?
have a motion on that,
Or did you read it? Or
He actually read it.
So you can make the motion.
Okay, I move to approve.
second,
Commissioner Claypool?
Aye.
Commissioner Spudler?
motion approved. Number 7, if you want to read that.
The Commissioner's Office is requesting the Board concur with Bainbridge Township trustees in not requesting a hearing on the liquor license requested by Mayfield CR Limited doing business as Bainbridge Shell, located at 8501 East Washington Street, Bainbridge, CN 5665192-0005.
So moved.
Second,
Commissioner Claypool?
Aye.
Commissioner Spudler?
motion approved. Boy, that's a fast meeting.
Yeah.
Do we have,
Do we have one more?
We still have one more.
Okay.
There's 2 liquor licenses on there.
Yeah, yep.
The Commissioner's Office is requesting the Board concur with Hamden Township trustees and not requesting entry on a liquor license requested by J. Ramdekar LLC doing business as Ready Go Number 8 located at 13940 Gar Highway, Unit 8, Hamden, CTRFO 42586B5.
So moved.
Second?
Commissioner Claypool?
Aye.
Commissioner Spudler?
Aye. Motion approved.
Thank you.
The one thing that I had brought up this morning, Dave, or Skip with Dave, and I kinda wish Blake would have been here, is as we were talking about, something that I hope I could get some support on is, at least to look into this, is I think that we need to look into the potential of some professional services, as far as we're spending a lot of money on a lot of private companies doing a lot of work as far as some of the different departments like water resources, engineer's office, like perfect example right now. Once the engineer goes to get the salt bin put in, we're gonna have to have an outside engineering firm, outside this, outside that. Water resources for the one McFarland project, or I'm sorry, Russell
Park.
Russell Park,
That upgrade, that
spending over $120,000. And I think that what we need to do is we need to look at this and say, every week, we're getting, you know, more and more and more of these requests. And I'm not looking to eliminate private enterprise to be able to have a partnership with us. But I think what we need to look at is the possibility of bringing some of this stuff either in-house or to have, you know, an operating memorandum with them of a maximum dollar figure of what
Kind
they're
of on
going to,
retainer, say.
right,
Yeah.
so, and I think that it just, to be able to try to reach out there, I mean, I think we're spending hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars with this. And I think that at the end of the day, we're kind of at the mercy too of what their schedule is to be able to get our projects done. If we've got our own people in-house, or if we've got a plan in place with, that we work out something with these other companies to say, here's what we're willing to do, and bring these people in, then they're here available for the county's business to get stuff done. We're spending tons of money. Last year, I mean, it was just, I would just shake my head, because it's like, are you kidding me? You know, we could have a staff of 15 people, 20 people with some of the numbers that we're doing. And I just think that it's something that we need to start to think a little bit smarter with some of this stuff, and really, you know, look at what we're spending. Because when you look at what it comes down to, $1, you know, per hour, it's up there. You know, and who's really to say, you know, I'm not saying that anybody is overbilling us, because I'm sure that they're not, because they're all ethical companies and they're all professionals. But at the end of the day, what is the hourly rate that we're paying for that same job, to be able to have some kind of a plan and some kind of a prearranged dollar figure, or prearranged, you know, deal here to say, here's what it is. And I don't know exactly how to do this. This would be something, Dave, that you'd probably have to work with the prosecutor's office as far as the legal, you know, portion of this. But I really think that we need to do something, because here's the thing, as our county continues to grow, demand for services, and the thing that scares me is water resources, because they're in a really volatile time of EPA crawling down everybody's throat, right, with more bogus regulations that are putting them in a real trick bag. And the age of a lot of these plants, you know, they're at the point where something has to be done. And we're going to end up, this is just a drop in the bucket of what we're going to end up spending to get something like this, you know, going forward. And I mean, at the end of the day, we're going to have a lot of costs, and water resources is not going away. It's just going to require us to do a lot more.
Actually, water resources, this precedes my time. There was a time when water resources had more people in their engineering department, and they utilized more in-house. I think But it got to a point where there was a lull in activity.
Yeah.
And through attrition, they let that drop off, because they didn't want to be paying people who were sitting there
Sure.
not active.
Well, and there's a, I mean, I'm very sensitive to what you're saying, and I actually asked the question when I was temporary CEO, the exact same, or commissioner. I asked the same kind of question. And the response that I got back, like from various departments, was, well, we did the cost benefit analysis, and these are either experts that we don't need on an ongoing basis, and or because we don't need that particular expertise, we have it in-house, but we don't need that particular expertise, so we need to bolster our expertise on a temporary basis, that it's, the cost benefit analysis came back and said, we justify going out and getting consultants or outside resources to do this job. I think it's certainly worthwhile to ask that question again and say, is this, you know, what is the cost benefit analysis on this? Is the work gotten to the point, or is what we're doing gotten to the point where it now warrants us to start bringing some of this expertise in-house?
Well,
And to Ralph's point, on terms of, particularly in the area of water resources, there is a push nationally right now to make changes on how we handle septic / sewer systems. And you see, and I want to say, for the lack of a better term, an attack on our septic systems right now, because we're going to move towards, they wanted to push us to move towards these active sewer systems in our homes. All of that changing, we might need to bolster our water resource department just to be able to deal with all that. So I don't know the answer to that. I do think it's worth looking into it and
well,
you know,
the
checking
other
our
thing
facts on it, so.
too is like we had talked the other day of extending services with some of the other townships, you know, as far as like with that salt deal. I can tell you that you know, it's this type of thing again. State is continuing to money grab all these dollars. The townships are struggling just like everybody else is. But if we have that division in place, then why is it, you know, like Joe said, that Hamden Township is going to be doing a salt bin themselves. So at this point in time, we've got our engineer, and if it's a situation where, you know, what's the problem with him also handling some of this other stuff? So I mean, as far as busy work or busyness of what somebody could do, I think we don't get crazy and overload the department, but I think that we have enough that they'll stay busy with all of the different projects that they can assist throughout the whole county. And I think that it's critical that we also keep in mind that, you know, we've had good partnerships with a lot of good private companies that are also Geauga County companies, that we also need to keep them in mind, you know, with this, because at the end of the day, we're not here to put private business out of business, but we would rather try to build a partnership with them to work a little bit more with them.
And in support of it, and I don't know, this is where I really lose in understanding what we're currently doing, and we were sitting down with other departments and talking to them more about this. But a lot of what we're doing is common across the county in terms of townships and cities, what the needs are.
Right.
And, you know, again, on a collaboration kind of a standpoint, if we identify both internal resources that we might be able to share, it helps leverage the cost and the expertise, so we don't have those people sitting around doing nothing, if it's a common expertise that we need. And or if it's a expertise that we don't need a full-time person for, we identify private companies that can fill that need, but are already pre-qualified to be able to do that kind of thing. There's legal issues around that I don't really fully understand. But we can identify those key core companies that are, and we might have a blanket PO or some arrangement with them where it's a cost benefit to everybody involved, and yet, you know, it kind of expedites the process a little bit.
Right.
So again, I don't know, you know, I'm very supportive of what Ralph was talking about. We need to revisit that. You know, we've done it in the past. Each of the departments has taken a look at doing a cost benefit analysis. Maybe it's time to do that again. So. should
Jeff,
that
I
be-
saw you hit your hand up.
No,
Okay. Good. Okay.
So what do we want to do with that? Do we want to take a definite action on that?
I don't think we're in a position to be able to take an action until we, you know, do the exploration of the legal ramifications of setting it up.
That, and I think
Yeah.
what we should do is we should try to coordinate like a special meeting, and we could even attach it to this meeting, and if you want to.
Like
you
a
know,
work
and-
session.
And we can basically, let's bring the engineer's office, let's bring water resources, you know, we can bring a couple of those different departments in here, and, you know, I think that even if we did something, I think we could even put an invite out to some of the townships. It might even be a good night meeting for us so that people are available to come out, and let's invite the townships. I actually talked to one of the trustees from Chesterland yesterday, and talked about that salt deal, and it was Mike Petrozelli I had talked to, and he was very, very much in favor of trying to do something with the salt issue. He saw the video, and he called me yesterday and said, I love the idea and I want to definitely find out more about it. So
I have a suggestion, and Christie, feel free to slap me if this doesn't really make any sense, but
I'd like to see that.
yeah.
Long
Just slap me.
Our arms won't reach.
You know, our night meeting is scheduled for Thursday, January 22nd. I just found out the other day that is for some reason, the Township Association set that as their meeting time. I'm wondering whether we might ask if the Board of County Commissioners could have their night meeting, a fairly abbreviated night meeting, inserted within the Township Association and talk about this issue with all these people there. You're never gonna get more people together than in a Township Association meeting. And they're scheduled for that night, and we're scheduled for that night.
so why can't we just do the whole meeting at building number 8?
Well, they're already set up, because they have a meal and all that, they're set up in Parkman at the community hall. That's where it's gonna be. But you guys could go down there, and we could have, you know, I could talk to Jim Dvorak and say, can we insert like a 20-minute commissioner session in the middle of your Township Association meeting and talk about that, if that makes sense to you guys.
I mean, and I don't think that's a bad idea. The only problem is gonna be is when you really look at it, you know, when it comes down to the actual minutes, if we have a conversation with, you know, 5 people give their 5-minute dissertation of what they feel, all of a sudden we're at 25 minutes to a half hour right there just in.
Well, that's the danger. I mean, if, you know, but we need to have the conversation. The problem is, you may generate so much conversation, it could go a lot longer than that.
Right.
And they have an established agenda.
Right.
But, I mean, I guess, but the other dilemma is, are we gonna keep our night meeting on the 22nd when we're having that down there, and you were set to go, and I was gonna go, and I don't, it doesn't matter to me, but do we
I
need
mean,
to
I'm
move our night
flexible to
meeting?
move it to whatever you wanna do, but I think that we gotta keep the night meeting available to the
Well,
public.
definitely, I just thought that would be, especially on this collaboration issue, maybe we schedule a future night meeting as the subject of a Township Association meeting, so with a little advance notice,
Sure.
that becomes their agenda for, hey, it's gonna be a commissioners meeting, we're gonna talk about collaboration. I would think they would welcome that.
Yeah.
So maybe we consider moving our night meeting for January to.
The 29th is the following Thursday. There's 5 Thursdays
Yeah,
in
so we
January.
could do it on the 29th, if you guys are okay with that. And then I could talk to Jim Dvorak about the next quarterly meeting, which I think would be in April,
Okay.
setting that up.
Well,
as-
we're not locked into although we've got Tuesday meetings, I was gonna say we're not locked into a Thursday night meeting, we can make it on another night, too, as far as
Well,
that
that's,
goes.
yeah, whatever your schedule.
I mean, we could make it the 21st on Wednesday night. Generally, there's no other,
Others.
no? You don't like that?
A lot of townships will meet on like the first and third Wednesday.
I was gonna say,
I don't know, that
most of
may-
the townships that I know meet either on Tuesdays or Thursdays, so.
You know, different townships.
But I mean, I'm very open to that, but I love the idea of getting together with the townships.
I just think it'd be great to have a commissioners meeting at the Township Association, because then you'll catch more township representation than any other time. If you really wanna move this forward, that would be.
You know, one other idea, I attended the staff meeting yesterday.
Directors meeting,
Directors
monthly
meeting.
directors meeting.
And a good session. And it would be maybe worthwhile to have an open public directors meeting where we use this as a topic and have that discussion for the directors and say, what do you think? And banter this around in the public a little bit, because they could help us.
I mean, and I often thought too, you know, that should almost just be a, open meeting that we have as part of our meeting, you know, and there's just gonna be a couple days that we're gonna have to be here a little bit, you know, longer than just the agenda and put that into place here to just have that, because I think you know, too many people just assume that, you know, the county just operates, and there's a lot of facets that go into it, and
Well, hearing the report out from, you know, the Department of Development and the Water Department and disaster preparedness and so on and so on and so on, is an interesting experience. Everybody goes around the table, they talk about what the challenges are. It'd be great for the public to hear how their county's being run, and they don't really hear that. And
Was mental health there?
Just your directors.
Yeah.
Well,
No. Maybe in spirit, but.
Speaking of mental health, I got your email. There was an email that was sent with all the public information requests as far as that survey.
Yes.
Jeff, we received an email yesterday. I don't know if
You were copied on
copied
that.
on it.
All the board members were copied. There's 15 documents attached to that.
What I was a little bit what was disturbing is there was a email from one of the Chagrin Falls counselors that had a lot of concern, and in her email she even stated that there were employees of the school that had children in the school that signed the waiver to not have their kids take that test because it was troubling to them.
Right.
And that she had a lot of parents that were calling, complaining about it, but yet it was still pushed down their throats to get this thing done.
Well, in addition to that, I'm sorry, I'm gonna add on to that real quick. We just found out, I think you got an email that this health department is pushing a similar survey.
You have a copy of all that.
And
that
so-
email
Yes, I
section.
did see
And
that.
if
Well,
you go to the-
I can tell you from the Geauga Mental Health Board, you know, you were both at the meeting, and I wish Blake was here too, because, you know, I've gotten calls, and I've been out in public, and people have approached me about this survey that, you know, and I feel very strongly that the way this survey and the questions that are in here are just inappropriate. I mean, you know, I can more than happy to read you what the time that, you know, I'll just read one question here that really upsets me, you know, let me pull up here. It says, do you enjoy spending time with your mother? Do you enjoy spending time with your father? Do you share thoughts and feelings with your mother and father? What is that any business of anyone in this room, anyone in the government, of my relationship with my children? It's nobody's business. It really isn't. You know, those are just two of the examples that I feel very strongly about. Now, I made the motion at the meeting, and it was seconded, unanimously passed, to have a public hearing. To date, I have no public hearing date. It was supposed to be in January, and you commissioners appointed me to that position, and I appreciate it, and I'm working hard at it, but I can't get answers there. I mean, in my opinion, I have a feeling that the board thinks they work for Jim Adams. And actually, the board, he
And
works for the
absolutely,
board.
that was what I saw when I was in that board.
And I just find it very neglectful of board members and of some of the staff that we can, you know, we had a motion passed, seconded, unanimously passed. We can't get a meeting. That was December 10th.
Well, what happened to the motion that was passed to stop the testing, and then all of a sudden, Cardinal, Berkshire,
Oh, I got
Newbury?
calls from parents on that, and then
I mean, I think that in fairness to Blake, I think that Blake, I don't know if it's possible for us to set up another time, maybe for you to come in and maybe discuss this.
I'd love to, because here's what I need from my standpoint. I need some support from the commissioners. If we're not gonna get it, then I'll be very frank. There's no need to have a board over there. Let
Well,
the staff run it.
to that point, one of the topics that I wanted to talk about today was upcoming board appointments, and what our standard and our policy and our process is going to be to make those appointments. And so I have copies, and I think you have a copy of this,
Yeah.
Ralph, of all the appointments that are coming in. We have a list of, on this list of our mental health board appointments. And so, at least from my perspective, we are gonna take action to make adjustments. Whatever action we can take in order to bring into alignment those people who will be responsible, like you, sitting on that board and realizing it's their job to oversee the director, not the other way around.
Well, I will tell you this, and this is a subject that might not be appropriate time to bring up, but every year the board has to do a CEO evaluation. We just completed, I did not participate in that evaluation because I hadn't been on the board long enough to give a fair observation of the CEO of the Geauga Mental Health, who is Jim Adams. I've been told by people that the commissioners have already agreed that it's okay to give Jim another raise, up to $111,000.
That is totally.
I'm for the record, I'm telling you point blank, this is what I was told, and it's a rumor. And I said, first of all, the board makes that recommendation, not the commissioners, so that's a problem right after that. But if people are giving the indication, or Jim, or whoever, somebody's giving an indication that you guys are going along with it, well, that sets a table to
Right.
do that raise.
I can tell you this, we're on record, okay, with the recordings of our meeting, and I can assure you that we never approved that, and I could go one step further because this really sits with me bad. You know, Jim Adams is a double dipper, okay, that was retired, rehired, came back into this game, and that board was going to put him at over $150,000. If I'm not mistaken, it was going to be over $160,000.
It was a 33% raise in 1 year.
Yeah, the projection would have had it close to 170.
170.
Yeah.
Meantime, I did an analysis of every mental health department in the state. And if we want to go down this road, I am more than happy to do this. And I am more than happy to sit here and I'll build a PowerPoint to make sure that there is no holes barred on this of exposing what a scam this was, of what your board did, of giving him all of these ridiculous raises when everybody else in this county is taking a beating and trying their best to keep up with stuff. And we've got all these other departments that are making cuts and staying on pay freezes, and all of a sudden they're going to go ahead and put him at this rate when he just retired with X number of I think close to $100,000, if not more, is what his last salary was that he retired at. No, it doesn't sit well with me, and I can tell you this: I have no problem putting myself on that pedestal to say, you know what? Here's the deal. This is wrong. It was wrong then. It's wrong now. And I sure hope that they're not putting the commissioners in the middle of this, of trying to say that we approved anything, because I'm telling you right now, we have it on record.
Right.
It's verbally recorded also, and I can tell you that I know for a fact we never approved anything extra. And he made the statement that he was going to remain at the salary that he was at.
Right. Well,
And the appointments made were not by this set of commissioners,
I understand.
okay, with the exception of you and the other gentleman that's.
I mean, I'm bothered by a lot of this, Jeff, and I think that we need to continue this conversation in fairness with Blake when he's here too, because
Correct, I agree.
there, at the end of the day, there's negligence. When I was at that meeting, he was at that meeting, we both, clear as a bell, heard one of those board members basically say, I haven't seen the survey, nor do I really care to see that survey. At the end of the day, that's like asking us to go ahead to take action on something that we either A, don't understand or haven't viewed and really don't care. It's at the end of the day, it's negligence. And I have no problem to tell him, this is a problem. And you pretty much displayed that point blank on record. You said you don't care, and so what exactly are you on this board for? I that night told him, you need to hit the door because you don't even belong here as a member.
Well, can I say something just to clarify, because we all want to stay on facts here, because just playing back what you're saying, just remember, when these salary increases were identified, I think Mr. Adams was at like 150 something, and the agreement was to roll it back. And prior to that, a year or so ago, he'd been like at 111, I think it was. I'm going off the top of my head, so I could be a little wrong on these. So he agreed to roll his salary back for the remainder of 2014 to a level, I think his annual rate was scaled back to like in the mid to low 80s, in order that the whole year would end up staying, he was at 150 and then dropping down low 80s. The whole year he'd be back at that 111, and with the understanding that starting in 15, his compensation would be put back at that 111. So if that's what he was talking
111 or
about.
150?
No, 111, back to the pre-increase level. So that may be what is being referred to, is that the understanding was before all these raises were kicking in, he was at, I believe, around 111 with whatever his compensation package is. It was jumped up to 150, then it was called into question, and their response was, we'll roll everybody back so that for 14, for the whole year, his compensation will be 111, which means they had to reduce his salary for the latter half of 14 down to that low 80s, low to mid 80s number, in order so for the whole year it'd be 111. Now that's done, and he'd be put back to the 111. So
And
that may be what they're talking
And that
about.
may be, my problem is this. On that board, and we just did the evaluations, and you can get them, they should be public record. The problem that the board has is that Jim Adams does things without board approval. Now, if we're gonna give a guy a raise, that's gonna do things, I don't need to be on the board, no, we don't need to have a board. That's my opinion. Don't have a board, if he's gonna do it, let him run it. I mean, because it's apparent to me, this survey, I know, was not approved by the board, nobody read it, but when I read it, it offends me. I've got a special needs daughter, and there'll be no way that she'll ever have to take care of any of my kids. Our relationship and what we do as a family, not your business, not Skip's, not Ralph's, not Christine's, nobody in this room's business. And that's what they're asking.
You know,
And I have a problem when I ask as a board member, we make a motion, we second the motion to have a meeting in January. That was December 10th. We can't get, I've had 3 emails, nobody gets back. Because I'm labeled a problem child in there. I get it, I understand that. I'm probably a problem child here, but let's not go to that table.
Jeff,
I need the backing, I need some help from the commissioners, that's what I'm here asking, I wish Blake was here. Because
Well,
And the public,
I
and the
know
public, too.
you're always busy with stuff too, Jeff, but I'll be honest with you, I appreciate you coming in today
Okay.
to bring this up, and I wish I would have known, because I would have pre-planned to try to do something, but I think that in fairness to Blake, you need to come back also, because there's a lot of concerns here, and I think that all 3 commissioners really need to be able to at the end of the day, it's an unpopular position to take, but it's the right position to take, and we need to do something, because there is more need for that department, and that's why I know that when this whole thing blew up with the salaries and it was exposed, I mean, the news had it, everybody had this thing. At the end of the day, I still push to have that levy passed, because we need mental health in this county, okay? But I can tell you this, is the phone calls that I'm basically getting is, once that happened, people basically supported me to vote for that levy. Now, they see this happening, and in addition to this, all of these people that had called me to go to that meeting to basically ask for this thing to be stopped, and then all of a sudden Cardinal gets it, Berkshire gets it, and Newberry gets it, it's wrong. And the other thing that's wrong is this, is we were lied to. We were lied by Mr. Adams. He said that all the board members, all the school board members, the presidents, everybody, basically they were briefed, they reviewed this. He said it on record that night, that all of them were briefed on this. After our meeting, Dave Lair called John Manfredi from Newberry, or from Berkshire, who's the president of the board, had never seen that survey, was appalled when he saw it, okay?
And I can tell you that I've called Chardon and another, and they, it was, I don't know if it was Cardinal or Burke, but I know I called Chardon, middle, and they didn't, no one authority them, they just sent the survey to them.
And my problem is this, is that after that meeting, okay, you mean to tell me that after that meeting, and we saw what a storm that thing created, that they're going to insult your intelligence, my intelligence, Skip's, and everybody else's, including the general public, to say that they interpreted it as it was only for West Geauga?
Yes.
Are you kidding me? You know, it's a joke. It's an absolute joke. It's a scam.
That's my problem, that I feel there's a lot of neglect, a lot of issues, and like I said, I've had people call me, I've had people approach me in public, what's going on? I can't give anybody an answer, because nobody will give me an answer.
Jeff, here's the thing. First of all, be patient, because help is on its way, if we've got anything to say about it. We're working on that. With that said, though, this survey is bigger than the mental health board. It's come through the health district, and if you use the website links that we got through the health district recently and look at the state of Ohio and what they're pushing, the state of Ohio has approved law, and I'm meeting with Sarah LaTourette for lunch, and this is a topic for discussion, one of the topics for discussion with her, is pushing this whole concept of engineering our lives, social engineering, of getting into our lives, and this survey is one of those mechanisms. And so this is bigger than just the mental health board, and it's a tough issue to face. But somebody's gotta do it, somebody's gotta raise it up. We only have limited power, there's only certain things we can do. We can name board members and hope that the board members are responsible people who do their jobs. On that topic, there is a set of bylaws that you guys operate under. Pull those bylaws out. And get everybody at that table, a set of those bylaws, so that they understand what their responsibility is.
Right.
And their responsibility by those bylaws, and they can change those bylaws.
Right.
And they can adapt those bylaws to ensure that they apply the proper controls and mechanisms within that organization. So pull those bylaws out, and let's review those and find out what it is we gotta do in order to bring proper control into that organization.
The other thing too, I think that to clarify that, this survey was conducted by the mental health. There's another survey that's out there from the Department of Health. There's actually two surveys.
That's
So
right.
it's like, when are we going to stop using our kids as like guinea pigs? And how many times are we gonna poke them with all of this stuff to finally say, you know what, marijuana's thrown in my face every time I look at it, heroin's thrown in my face every time I look at it. Why, you know, sniffing glue, everything. I mean, across the board, this is something that becomes just general household terms. And I totally disagree with the fact that people saying they'll pick up more about this stuff on the bus and on the internet and all this other stuff. And there's even officials in this county that'll take that position of saying that. I got news for you. I had to look at the lady's face that came up to me at my store and basically told me, says, keep up the fight and keep up the fight. When her son, she came home from work one evening and she walked in her house and basically thought that there was some kind of a gas leak or something in her home because there was so much fumes in the house. Didn't know what it was. She went downstairs, found that there were two tubes of caulk that were cut open, okay, and sitting on like a little workshop table. She just figured, okay, these kids are just messing around. After this stuff started to surface and it started to go around in the media and on Facebook, she put two and two together, confronted her son. Her son turned around and told her, the reason I had done it, I had just taken that survey at school that day. So I got news for you. All of everybody of what they're saying about the internet is more dangerous to our kids and the school bus is more dangerous to the kids. At the end of the day, that right there alone proved the fact that if it wouldn't have been for that survey, this kid would not have done that. And, you know, the Lord only knows what the next position of this innocent child is going to take of what else did he read on there that now he's going to feel that he's going to try. And at the end of the day, curiosity kills the cat. We don't need to do this to our kids. And it's a major danger, and it's at the point where it's like, it's got to stop.
Well, the whole way with the survey, the passive consent was just.
Oh, it's a joke.
Well,
Tricking your parents.
The interesting thing is, I've done kind of a public survey. I've gone out and I've showed a number of parents the survey. Now I'm a parent, grandparent, and I've showed this to my kids, who are my kids younger than me, one of whom is in the school system. And a whole bunch, without exception, the people that I've showed this survey to have gotten upset. Not one person has looked at that survey and said, wow, this is okay. Yeah, I can give this to my kids, not a problem. The challenge that we've got is that the system is keeping this away from you. You know how hard it was for you to get a copy of that survey, and you're on the board.
Right.
The system, for some reason, and you don't do that unless you know that there's something wrong. They've intentionally kept the survey under wraps because they do not want people to see this.
But the whole purpose of this survey, that I was told, was just to get grant money.
Yeah.
And I don't need to use my daughter to give this county grant money, sorry, or my son, or my other daughter, sorry, it's not gonna.
Right.
I pay taxes for that. And as a citizen, I'm mad, as a board member, I'm mad at it, and I'm mad that we paid between, I don't know, 16, 17,000 for this survey. That's another problem I have.
And that was the other problem too, that I was disturbed with our conversation, is how many times did you ask, what was the cost of that survey? And it was continued, so at the end of the day, are you a board member of mental health, or are you just some flunky that it's whenever you're.
Name only.
Yeah, so at the end of the day, our board members control what happens in that division. And we've got a situation where we've got somebody that is absolutely power hungry, that is continuously trying to dictate what is going to happen. And the other question I had for you too is this, is Linda Miller is a board member?
Yes.
Okay. and maybe you don't know this question, maybe it would be something to ask her directly, which I have no issues doing, or asking Jim, but she's a board member, but yet she's on every one of these emails as far as handling all of this stuff. I mean, so I have a little bit of a concern is that her position as a board member really should be is to make a decision. You know, you've got a decision. It would be like me going down to you know, decide on what color our engineers' trucks are going to be. That's the engineer's job to do that. As a board, we approve the engineer to go and do that. Whereas, what is she so engaged in all of this stuff and making decisions as far as individually as a board member? She should be basically coming to the board to say, Chagrin Falls Schools called me and said they're very concerned about this. Have you heard about that? No. You probably, have you heard or not?
No.
Okay, so I could tell you that when you're looking at that, at the emails that we got back, she's pretty much been notified of that, but how about letting the rest of the board know to say, hey guys, we have some flags that have been risen. We've got employees in this school that refuse to have their own kids take the test because there's concern.
Right, and you're exactly right, and again, that further demonstrates the negligence and the problem going on at that board.
Yeah.
I mean, there just is some real concrete issues that just, you can't, I can't get answers as a board member, I can't get answers as a citizen, and
Sure.
other people can. I know there's other people that ask, call the board and ask, they're not giving me the answer. Again, I can go by what was on the record, December 10th, the motion was passed unanimously.
Yeah.
We still don't have a meeting. I think there's a lot of questions that the public has, a lot of answers they want.
And I think
nobody's addressing that. Nobody's moving forward with it. I can show you. I'll be. You know, the other problem I have, and I'll just be very frank with this. I've requested. I have a Geauga.org email. Why should I have my personal email out there? Because
Sure.
with this going on, you have requested an investigation. If an investigation goes, and I've told all the board members, you're now liable with all your emails, pal, because it's right there, and they go in and look at everything. I just think there's a lot of things that need to be nipped in the bud and handled correctly and appropriately, and be transparent about it. And that's the biggest problem. This is not transparent.
This is not transparent.
It's not.
Well, you know, I don't know where we should go with this whole thing. I know I'm gonna make the public aware so that they can show up at the next board meeting. And
Which is the
we're gonna be
21st.
talking about appointments. We've got a list of appointments here, and I'm gonna strongly suggest that all the appointments we've got coming up, and there's a whole list of them.
Well, and
that we
I
ask
think that
for
we
resumes
truly
on.
need to, I truly think that there are some board members that I can tell you by personal, well, you were at the same meeting that I was, is that I really don't need a whole lot more evidence other than what I saw with my own two eyes, that they were completely negligent in their position, you know. And at the end of the day, we can appoint these people, but we could also, we can notify them based on the fact that we can have a hearing for them, we can explain to them why we're taking a position of investigating them, of what of their negligence to handle certain situations. And at that point in time, if we could get the majority of the board to vote in removal of some of these members, I have no issue. If what's right is right and what's wrong is wrong. And when we've got members, they're basically saying that they really don't care, not interested in reading it, don't care what it says. At the end of the day, you got some issues, and you are not looking for the betterment of this county and the people that you serve. And it's gotten to the point where I think that the public is sick and tired of it. I can tell you this, I am more available than most anybody that's on this board, just because of the fact that I'm engaged with people every day in my business. So I hear it from the grassroots of the people that are out there that we serve. And I can tell you that they're disgusted, they want action, they want something changed, they're tired of this. And the biggest thing that they feel is they feel that this is a big scam, and there is a lot of irresponsibleness that's going on there. And they're looking for answers, and they're looking for action. And I have no problem giving them answers and taking action. And we need to just come together to figure out how we have to follow the laws of what we need to do to legally do this, and move forward. I applaud Jeff because of the fact that, you know, he had the backbone to stand up that night. I applaud Che. He had the backbone to say, you know, to stand up that night, and also the doctor that was there, who actually did a great job. And I haven't talked to him since, but I mean, he pretty much, here he is, he is a doctor in this field that had concerns, and pretty much said it. We are not going to, I agree, some of these are troubling to me, he said. And I feel that we should stop this until we can meet to discuss this further. And all of a sudden, what do they do? You know, so it's just, this has been a real stinger for me, because I've never seen the arrogance of this magnitude with a director and with some of the people of the board that just feel that they're just going to empower somebody to do whatever they want to do, and it's got to stop.
Well, and just to clarify a point, the mental health board is a special case, and we're going to focus on how we deal with that situation and do what we can do. I mean, we're limited as county commissioners on what we can do. We can appoint board members. You know, we don't have any oversight on Jim Adams outside of raising awareness in the public and so forth. But we have a number of boards that we appoint to, and I think that we need to take very seriously those people that we're going to appoint to those boards, so we don't have these kinds of situations. People need to understand their responsibility, what they're signing up for when they be a board member. Sometimes it's hard because these are volunteer positions, and so forth. But I'm going to suggest, and I wish Blake were here because he needs to be part of this conversation.
Yeah.
But I'm going to suggest that we, we have a more formal process, that we request resumes from people. We have a number of positions to fill over at planning and at the library and so on and so forth. And I'm going to ask that we set a policy in place, and how, whatever process we've got to do to formalize that, where anybody who wants to have a board member named, that the policy is, give us the name and their resume. And then we'll determine whether or not we are going to interview them based on a situational basis. Generally, I would suggest, at least having a conversation with them. And so we can start looking at each of those positions and filling those. With the mental health board, I would certainly, I don't know the right way to approach this to start making the adjustments there, but I'd love to determine a formal plan of action so we can start dealing with that. And I know Ralph's already done a lot more homework on this. Unfortunately, we have to do this publicly. We can't meet privately to compare notes and all that. So we need to find a way to kind of get together on all that. So, but we need to do that too with Blake. Not
yeah, because I'd like Blake to be part of this conversation, and I don't know what your schedule looks like, but I think that you need to express some of your concerns to him also, because it's in fairness. I mean, we have to operate as a board, what I want to do is I want to practice what I preach. We need to operate as a unit, and just like you guys need to operate as a unit. And it's unfair to Blake to not be involved in this conversation. Sure. And I don't want to speak for him. He's entitled to his own opinion, and I think that it's just a situation where I think it's been pretty obvious of what my feelings are, and I'm kind of invigorated that Commissioner Claypool is breathing the same same breath as far as something needs to get done, and I'm not going to.
One idea. I'm sorry for interrupting. One idea might be that the board members that we've appointed, we might ask them to come over and have a conversation with them, invite them to a public meeting and let them explain in our meeting what's going on and what their take is, and and maybe make a corrective action there. Perhaps they had a change of heart or whatever the case happens to be. Maybe we can have a simpler path to making a correction. So.
Well, not to interrupt, but I think that there's a value for what you're saying, but I also feel that there's also a position that we need to truly look at the potential of taking some action on a couple of those board members of some of the positions that they've taken on certain things as far as what is correct and what is not, as far as what our authority allows us to do. I mean, perfect example, the one individual that made that statement that night,
yeah.
That, I mean, at the end of the day, negligence could not be more apparent. And non-care of something that is affecting every child that goes to a public school in this county, and you don't care to read it, it doesn't sit well with me. And we've got a responsibility, So I think before we would try to go ahead and do this, I think that, you know, obviously this is your second meeting, and I don't know how we're going to, I don't know if the request needs to come from me, possibly to the prosecutor's office, to start to get this ball rolling, but I think that what I would like to see us do is to go ahead and to formally make the approach to pursue after the position of, do we feel that some of those board members, you know, are
We
they
have
operating?
a basis to take
So
action.
let me ask you this, Dave, would this be something that we could go into an executive session with Laura LaChapelle, our attorney, and discover our legal opportunities?
She would have to advise us on whether or not.
Because it might be an opportunity for us to sit down and
Right.
have because we need to understand what our legal options are
Right.
in order to
Right.
move forward. And perhaps we can invite in Craig from Jobs and Family Services and/or other people that might have some thought on this and figure out a course of action. In lieu of that, I would suggest maybe you put together a straw man, what you think the course of action should be, and Blake and I can review it
Right.
and agree to it.
Because I think we need to get at this point in time, now that, you know, everything is kind of into the new year, that it's obvious and apparent that, you know, that the meeting was supposed to be scheduled prior to the official meeting for the Board of Mental Health, so to discuss this going forward. This test were given to 3 other school districts, and at this point in time, everything now is back into session, all the schools are back, everybody's back. The board has pretty much had this meeting that's coming up, and no other special meeting was done. By what Mr. Klein said, he's emailed them, he's contacted a number of times, there's basically not even a response back to him of this special meeting. At this point in time, I think that it's come time.
Malfeasance, it appears to
Right.
me.
And we need to just take the legal action to get the prosecutor on board, to direct us. Just, at the end of the day, we are here to follow the law. And whatever the law allows us to do is what we can do. And that's my position, and that's what I'm gonna do. But I think that if you want me to call Dave, or if it's something that you wanna
No,
try to
I
handle,
can
so that
handle
you
it.
can
I'll
talk
handle
to the
that.
other board members.
Yep.
And advise them of that, but I think we need to make this pretty much immediately to get this, this moving forward.
Yep.
So,
Are you good with that, Jeff?
Yeah, I'm fine with it. I mean, and at the end of the day, I think it's important that we be transparent and again, motion was made, second, and unanimously passed. Let's follow that
Right,
procedure. That's
absolutely.
all I'm asking, you know, and then give the public the chance to ask their questions, get the questions answered in a very respectful, mindful manner on both sides, and we go on from there.
Yeah.
And decision made after that are fine. There's not even giving the public, you know, that's my opinion of being on that board. This is a public board, this is a public, you know, opportunity for the public to speak, and it's a needed, you know, it's needed.
You know, the interesting thing, the strength of our country is that it is by the people, for the people, when the people get involved. But if you hide information from people, they don't know when to get involved. And so the way to correct this action, even down to the state level, is to raise people's awareness, because, you know, all kinds of tyrants have become successful because, well, the government says we gotta do it. And that's what I've been hearing in many cases. Well, the government says we gotta do it. Not so. If people push back on this hard enough, then it's their government at the end of the day. So.
Right, exactly.
I mean, I give you a lot of credit for having the courage to stand, to come to here today and
Absolutely.
even make those statements, because, I mean, it just, you know, at the end of the day, you obviously care, and that's,
Right.
you know,
Well,
that's.
I got a special reason. I got a daughter.
Right,
So,
right.
Okay?
You know.
We need more people like you, more people like you on the board.
So I appreciate it. Thanks
Thanks.
for coming in, Jeff.
Thank you.
Okay, with that, is there any questions? No.
You want to consider taking action to change your Thursday night meeting to the 15th or the 29th?
That's fine, if you feel comfortable with that?
I'm good.
Okay, so,
Which would you prefer? Want to wait till the 29th?
yeah, we could do it on the 29th. That way, if we need some time too what night is the Board of Mental Health meeting?
January 21st.
21st, okay, so,
That's that meeting, the board meeting, the regular
Okay.
board meeting, right?
so then I would
Need a
request
motion
the
to reschedule
commissioners,
the-
I
move to make a
to-
motion to reschedule the meeting for the 29th,
Yep.
the
I
evening
make the
meeting that
motion.
starts at, what time, Dave?
6:30?
6:30.
6:30 p.m. And second that motion?
Aye.
And aye. Okay.
I heard you ask.
I was trying to get language, that's what I was
Real
trying to do.
quick, just for the acknowledgements, we need to read this, report filed by the dog warden of all dogs seized, impounded, redeemed, or destroyed for the week ending December 31st, 2014, as required by Ohio Revised Code 955.12. Monthly report filed by Geauga Sheriff of an account of expense for the prisoner transport for the month ending on February 2014, as required by Ohio Revised Code 32507. And then in our meetings, we have a Friday 1/9, Sunday 1/11. Some of the commissioners will be attending the Fair Managers Conference in Columbus. On Monday, the commissioners will hold the reorganizational meeting. On Tuesdays, the 13th, the regular scheduled commissioners meeting is going to be canceled because we got the meeting on Monday. And then on the 19th, county offices will be closed for general business for MLK holiday, which is going to be 24-hour operations. Will continue to operate as usual. So with that, if we have a motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn.